Do you know, I've tried to do this. This is my 4th attempt at trying to do this video. I've tried to do 2 to go live, couldn't do it. So anyway, I'm going to try and do it now and upload it. I was trying very hard to get a video out for today. Some of you accuse me of not working. I do work. I'm at work today. I know it probably looks like I'm in the Amazon or something like that. I'm not. It's actually freezing cold. I couldn't do the video last night because we had the game, and I was a little bit, not shell-shocked. Didn't really fancy doing it. I'd already spoken in the review with Gio. Didn't fancy talking about West Ham again. I don't really fancy talking about West Ham now, but a couple of things have grabbed my attention and are worthy of discussion. First of all, Manuel Pellegrini's comments. The first one is that he thought we dominated the game, or certainly dominated the second half. We didn't. We just didn't. That wasn't the case at all. It was very, very comfortable for Wolves. Very comfortable yesterday, actually. I didn't feel that they were really ever under any threat of losing the game. So, I mean, if they're not ever under any threat of losing the game, how can we have been comfortable? How can we have been dominant? We certainly weren't. And the other comment that I took offence to, but the other comment I didn't really like was him suggesting that it's really our away games that we have to concentrate and win. Well, if that was the case, I think there's a load of people travelling up to the Midlands on a cold December night who could probably have done with knowing that game wasn't overly important. You were concentrating on the Arsenal game. The game itself, well, you know what? We've done the review. You can have a little look at that. I thought there were points in it where we weren't bad, but it wasn't good enough you couldn't suggest that we really built on what happened at Chelsea. I think there was a high energy, high work rate against Chelsea. It just wasn't there for this one. There were some better performances, which I've detailed earlier. I thought Felipe Anderson had a good game. I thought Fornals had looked better. Looks like he's increasingly coming into the team. And I thought Balbuena and Diop had good games as well. But I mean, was Noble able to play sort of 2 games within the short space of a few days? I think probably not, because I thought he was relatively ineffective, and subsequently he was brought off. I was delighted to see Nathan Holland, by the way. I thought that was great. I thought it was good to see Martin back in goal again, and the crowd really responded well to him as well. But there were others, and there were more concerning performances, and it just sort of makes me wonder, are we getting worse? More importantly, are the players getting worse? And we look at Sebastian Haller, for instance. I thought when he started at the start of the season, I thought he was a player full of confidence, and he looked really, really good. He looks almost a shadow of a player now. You could look at him and look at it as an isolated incident, but I think, no, he's clearly not as good. What about Yarmolenko? Well, he had a real purple patch, but again, he looks worse now. He looked ponderous, he looked slow yesterday. He's getting worse. Issa Diop, remember Issa Diop? Although he didn't play last night. The monster, Jose Mourinho called him a monster. Remember the player we signed? Look at him this season. Not great, is he? I think if you look at Balbuena as well, I thought Balbuena was all right last night. I thought he was all right against Chelsea, but he's not. He came in, he was the general. He's not the same sort of player. I definitely think he's got worse as well. And just when you look around the team, look at Declan Rice. Again, didn't have a bad game last night, Declan. I thought Chelsea and this one, he's been better than he has been the rest of this season. But it's not the Declan Rice that we saw last season. It's not the Declan Rice we saw last season where teams were clamouring, countries, never mind teams, countries were clamouring over. People were arguing whether he was worth 50, 70 or 80 million. People wondering whether he was going to be Fernandinho's replacement, or, would Liverpool look to take him? Would Man United look to take him? Anyone like that? I don't think too many people would be looking to come in and take Declan Rice. Certainly not for the prices that we suggested. What about Lanzini? I know Lanzini is out injured again, and he was coming back from an injury, but he doesn't seem to have the sort of swashbuckle that he had particularly under David Moyes, and when he was playing up front with Arnautovic. I just think collectively, you look at the team, and they are just getting worse. And what really brought that home to me was, I think I was watching an article. I was listening to a radio thing, and it was about Brendan Rodgers. Would Brendan Rodgers take the Arsenal job, for instance? And somebody said, well, Brendan Rodgers, he improves players, doesn't he? So they were arguing that he shouldn't leave Leicester, and I think he should stay at Leicester. I think Leicester is a better gig for him at the moment than Arsenal, I think, which needs quite a big rebuilding job. But it was a case of he improves players. Then they started going on, and they started talking about a Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp, he improves players. And I understand we're talking at the top level, or Brendan Rodgers close to the top level of manager, but that's what we thought we were getting. I think we thought we were getting a top level manager. I think it's clear now we haven't got that. When I was looking at this conversation and listening to this conversation on the radio about managers and coaches that improve players, I thought who's improving under us? And it ain't a lot. And then the more I thought about it, I thought actually they're getting worse. A lot of these players are getting worse, and that can't be a good thing. Clearly not. So you look at the Pellegrini situation. You look at him in the press conference. Whilst he came into the pre-match press conference with a bit of swagger, with a twinkle in his eye, we were left with the post-match press conference with the blame game. We were left with him looking for excuses, passing the buck, saying it's really home games we're concentrating on, saying we dominated. I would totally agree that Snodgrass should have finished that, but he'd been so bad up to that point. Robert Snodgrass possibly shouldn't even have been on the pitch by that point anyway. It's a real worry, and the worry is that the Chelsea game, whilst it was good to win, has totally and utterly papered over the cracks, and given Pellegrini a stay of execution that realistically is gonna hinder us in the long run. Good to take the 3 points. Actually, in the long run, is it going to cost us more than 3 points? I think it may well do. I mean, I'm recording this video now at what are we? 11:45? Lunchtime. I'm recording it at 11:45. By the time I get it up and edited, it's going to be about 12 o'clock, something like that. Will Marco Silva still be in a job by then? So we're already at a disadvantage because we already know Watford are looking for a manager. Tottenham have already done their sacking. They got a manager. Not that Mourinho is realistic for us, but you understand what I'm saying. There are only so many managers that possibly we would want to attract, and there are only so many jobs. Well, now there's a lot more jobs. Marco Silva's probably going to be sacked as well. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's probably saved his bacon for another little while. But Arsenal still haven't appointed their manager, so you've already got 3 clubs out there in Everton, Watford, and Arsenal who are looking for managers. I would suggest that at least 2 of those clubs are probably shopping in the same pool that we are. They're looking for the same type of manager. Their targets will probably have a crossover with us. And if we hesitate and take too much time over this, we may well find that we do end up with someone like Chris Hughton, because actually whoever we may well have chosen, whoever it may be, let's say it's David Moyes, whatever, Arsenal take him. Everton take him. Sorry, not Arsenal won't take David Moyes. Eddie Howe. Arsenal take Eddie Howe. Everton take David Moyes. Something like that. Maybe it's somebody maybe David Moyes ends up going to Everton or something like that. Maybe there's some up-and-coming young manager in Germany or something like that. Maybe Watford come and take him. It just limits our resources. Maybe if it is Rafa Benitez, maybe someone goes and grabs Benitez. The fact of the matter is we pay so much wages to our manager, we should be able to attract a good one. We shouldn't be thinking, hold on, we're going to get a cheap option. We pay good money. I think we expected a little bit better. I don't want to lay the boot in too much to Pellegrini, because I've not really changed the way I thought about him. Well, I definitely didn't after the Chelsea game. I didn't think that was it. I still wanted him. I was asked quite clearly, would you still like Pellegrini to go? Yes, I still did, because I don't see things getting any better. I think Pellegrini could possibly keep us safe for this season. Is it a risk you want to take? I don't know, but I think he could possibly keep us safe for this season. And as I said, depressingly, I think we could finish. I think he could get us to 15th, because I do think we got good players. I do think we have players coming back. and that would probably see us all right. But then again, Southampton have got their tails up, so you don't know. It does look precarious. I think the Premier League tells a lie. I think every time somebody says, "Oh, the Premier League's tight and we're close to fifth," and I think it tells a lie. I've said that before. I think it's misleading. I don't think it's helpful. That's my main point. I don't think saying those cliches are particularly helpful, because it makes us think that we're not in a bad position, and we are in a bad position. The team is not playing well. The team is low on confidence, and regardless of what I said about Pellegrini probably having what it takes to keep us safe from this season, is it really what we bought in for? I think what most people will probably agree with, he is not here. He's not going to be successful in the long term with West Ham. I don't feel he's building something that suddenly is going to spring into action and bear fruit next season in the way that maybe Leicester did. If you remember, Nigel Pearson was there, and I think they had Steve Walsh was their head of recruitment. They were bringing players in, and they brought Mahrez in and Kante in, and Vardy had come in from Fleetwood, and just towards the end of the season, Nigel Pearson, if you remember, went on an amazing run. I think they won their last 7 games or something like that to stay up. And it all really, they brought Ranieri in for the start of next season, and it all sort of clicked into place. But I don't feel at the moment that our director of football situation is comparable to theirs. I don't feel that the players we're bringing in necessarily are all going to click into place next season, and we're going to suddenly metamorphosize into a from a bad team, which is what Leicester did, into, as it turned out, league champions. Not that I'm suggesting we would become league champions, but I just don't see the long-term future being with Pellegrini, and certainly with being with Huselos has become a bit of a scapegoat, really, hasn't it? It's a bit of a shame for him. I feel a bit sorry for Huselos, actually. I don't know. And if he's not the long-term future, he's got to go. It is a worry. Are they going to wait for another 2 games? I think they might. I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that we beat Arsenal, by the way. But I do think it's Thursday now. We're not playing until Monday. Do not rule out the prospect of Arsenal appointing their new manager before they play us. And then they're going to have the uplift. And then, quite frankly, we don't have a chance.